Hello, everybody. I'm Jose Garcia. Thank you very much for coming to our event. And I got the idea for this event. It actually came up from the attendees of our last event, and also one of my previous speakers, Julian Kurvala and Dr. Ras, have highlighted that a limiting factor in health AI development is building relationships, the ability to build relationships with other organizations like clinical organizations, engineering partners, healthcare organizations, regulators. So we have a very diverse panel of speakers today. We have 5 speakers. I don't think we've ever had 5 speakers in a webinar before. So we're gonna have to move a bit quickly to get everyone in. And if you have any questions, don't be shy, put them in the chat. Don't wait for the Q&A to start. Just go ahead and put them in. Now, if we could bring on our first speaker, Sigrid, let's see.
Hi.
Hello, Sigrid. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Jose.
And I think you're the first person I spoke to about this webinar, actually, when we were in the idea stage. And so I think it feels just appropriate to have you come first. And I'm wondering if I know a lot of people in the audience know you already, but I wonder if you could just introduce yourself quickly.
Yeah. Well, my name is Sigrid. I'm originally Norwegian, even though everyone thinks I'm Dutch. That's because I made a mistake and married a Dutch guy and took his name. I think not that the marriage was a mistake, but the name thing maybe. But just a bit more about because I think the people who know me, they know that I have a passion of healthcare and how technology can help healthcare. And it really, I think it propelled a bit when my dad, he got cancer. And in that whole process, he had to start chemotherapy. After a week after he started chemotherapy, he already was put into an induced coma. And later we realized that actually it wasn't the chemotherapy that should have been his treatment. And after a week after he was in induced coma, so 2 weeks after we knew that the diagnosis, he already passed away. Later I realized, it's a bit sorry, we're just starting this like a bit of intense story, but later realized that AI could actually have helped understanding. Back then not, but now it could help understanding which patient would get which treatment. And this is one of the things I'm passionate about, that other people won't experience this, losing someone so close, so fast, because of the treatment and not because of the disease. And I think that's like my takeaway, like in that case, the treatment actually killed my dad, but this shouldn't happen. And AI can be able to help in decision-making with patient treatments and just make sure who should have what treatment so that they actually benefit the patients.
I've worked in a couple of different tech sectors, and people, and I love this, I love health technology because people are so passionate, and there's kind of an emotional imperative undercurrent. And thank you for sharing that with us. And now I want to bring up my notes. I have a couple of questions I want to ask you. So the first one is, you brought up health AI. How has the evolution of health AI changed the way stakeholders need to collaborate?
Well, I think, just first an example that I heard about. You hear all these stories and technologies, how they can really help healthcare situations. And there was one story talking to a hospital where they implemented an AI tool. And actually, this tool made the nurses had to spend 15 minutes longer per patient with this tool. And I was like, how is this even possible? Like we're spending time and money to implement these tools that are actually supposed to benefit the healthcare professionals and benefit the patients. Well, in some cases, the patients get less time because they're spending more time on the tool. So, and I think that's was changed. Like this is some time back, and like luckily this is changing. So, and it's changing. So we need to consider the end user when developing and implementing AI tools, and really understanding that. And it's not just that you know, the administrator is have to say, okay, we need to implement AI because this is now the trend or the hype. It's really about considering the different needs of the stakeholders. So collaborating with, you know, the clinicians, with the developers who are developing tools as well, whether it's in-house or from another party. It's involving patients as well. What do they want to see? And I think this is core to things like how the collaboration has changed, that we're really focusing on cross-disciplinary partnerships and not so much the top-down management says what we need to do. Next to that, it's also involving more this continuous feedback loops. So not having like a one and done process. It's requiring redefinition and refining and adoption. Jose, you are gone. I can continue though.
No, you know what? I just bought this brand new boom mic, and I'm like, I was fiddling with the controls. I told you I would touch my microphone too much. Sorry about that. Thank you for your answer. I wonder if you could, I guess, now this is the thing. A lot of the people in the audience, they're considering building either from a point of view of a manufacturer solution provider, or they're an organization that's considered adopting. And the number one thing on their minds is pitfalls. What do I need to avoid? Because I want to learn from other people's mistakes, and there's that uncertainty. So, what are the common pitfalls you've seen in healthcare AI relationships, and how can organizations avoid them?
Yeah. I think firstly, it's this over-reliance on automations. You know, it's like, okay, now we're gonna, like, you've waited so long to make any automation or make any type of change in your whole system. And then suddenly you're like, we're gonna automate everything. We're gonna do everything at once. And so either that, you're just doing too much at one time and rushing into this automation part. And then you have this focus on whether or not AI will replace healthcare professionals. And this is I think a big challenge, because you have on one side, you have the healthcare professionals who don't want to be replaced. And then on the other side, you have management who kind of might think that they will replace too much. The fact is, it's not gonna, like, AI is not going to replace healthcare professionals. It's gonna replace tasks. It's going to augment their capabilities, but it's not gonna replace people, you know, because healthcare is currently in a crisis, I think, because there are not enough people who want to work in healthcare. People who do work in healthcare, they leave healthcare. People are not educated to work in healthcare. So we need the people who want to work. So it's not, I think it's not a question whether or not you're going to be replaced. Your job, not in the title per se, but the tasks that you have within your job, that might change, but you will not be replaced by AI.
I know when people had this worry when, oh, who's that? Someone needs to be, oh boy. And I know the same thing happened with spreadsheets. I know I'm showing my age here. People thought, oh no, because of spreadsheets, there's going to be nobody working in financial services. And actually, you've got 8 times as many people working in financial services now than it did before.
Yeah. It's the same thing you see kind of in healthcare, though, with, you know, when the EHRs were implemented, you go from like having this paper written note, and then, okay, now how EHRs, which is just a copy paste, honestly. I don't think it was, the innovation can improve. But in that, you just came to like, oh, we need to track more things. We need to write more things down. We need to, collect more data. Well, no one's really asking themselves, why do you need to, like, what are we going to use this data for? That's another question and a longer conversation. But it's not gonna, change the jobs themselves.
Can I ask you one question really, really quickly, Sigrid?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just conscious of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I know this is the trendy question we have to ask.
Mm-hmm.
What types of AI capabilities and solutions do you see healthcare organizations actually looking at for most demand, do you think, in the near future from
Mm-hmm.
startups?
Yeah. Well, it depends where they're located. I mainly work with European organizations, but is so there are two things. So either if they already, they can automate some of the tasks and the jobs that are like repetitive. You mentioned it earlier as well in one of some of our conversations, like with all these repetitive tasks, how AI can be used there. In many cases, that does not require medical device regulation or certification. The second is when when they have been regulated, like if medical devices have been regulated and certified, to get a kind of higher standard, and that it is safe to use. It can well most likely will, but that's something that I also work on to check if it's clinical relevant to use it, that tool. But whether or not, yeah, it's a medical device certified system or automating some other repetitive tasks.
Thank you, Sigrid. I'm going to send you away now, but can you stay on the call? We're going to bring you back for the Q&A. And let's see if we can bring on our second speaker, Ralph. Let's see, add spotlight. And there. Thank
Oh,
you, Ralph. Thank you for coming. And I wonder if I know a lot of people here know about you and the work you do at Research to Guidance. I wonder if you could introduce yourself though quickly, because I know there's some people who may not know.
yeah, sure. Um, so, my name is Ralph Jans, and I'm the founder of Research to Guidance. And what is Research to Guidance all about? It's a boutique analyst and consulting company. Why do I say boutique? Because we are not a large organization. And secondly, we are just concentrating on the health tech market globally. That's our niche. We started already in 2010. So at that time, I must say it was really a niche and then became bigger and bigger and bigger. And what are we doing there? So we mainly work for pharma, medtech, insurance, sometimes investors, also sometimes startups. And we help them to define their strategies, their go-to-market. We do a lot of market due diligence kind of work. So I must say, we don't produce any solution ourselves. So we just write paper.
Thank you, Ralph. I got now I know you have a lot of experience working with pharma and med tech, and which we don't often talk about in our webinars. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to ask you, what are the common mistakes you see health AI startups making when they're approaching industry partners, especially in the med tech and pharma space?
Yeah. Let me share a few slides why I'm doing this, because I want to share some of the results of recent studies we did, and
Let's see if I can do allow. There you go.
yeah, okay,
Go ahead.
okay. I hope you can see it now. Let me
See
make
it now.
that bigger.
Yeah, we can see it.
Make it bigger. So I brought those slides because they think they fit quite nicely to the topic we are discussing. It's all about how AI is being typically implemented, and that's done by partnership. Yeah, and I want to share two studies or parts of the study results. One is from a study which we did especially for pharma, and we wanted to find out how, after this initial hype, how pharma is approaching AI and what are the main solution areas, the main areas they invest in. And investing means, yeah, they mainly do that via partnership. That could be co-development, that could be an investment, but also as work with those solution providers as a client. So there are different ways of partnerships, but we wanted to find out, okay, what is the focus area of those 100 or 10 big pharma companies? And that maybe is also a good indicator for the rest of the industry. So what we can see here is that the number one topic is really all about drug discovery and development. So that's the top one priority for, at least for pharma companies. So that's all about data analysis. That's about twin concepts which are being used here to identify new molecules and so on and so forth. Yeah. So there are lots of solutions and partnerships out there. Secondly, diagnostic and monitoring. So partners work together here to develop solutions which pharma might use internally, but also they might want to share that with HCPs, which are their clients, to better diagnose and to better monitor their patients. And then thirdly, it's all about clinical trial support. So solutions here help pharma companies to identify identify patients for trials better, or to engage with them on a longer term so that the dropout rate is lower, or to analyze better the incoming results and to improve the quality of the study. So these top three areas are really the areas where pharma over the last few years have invested in, mainly via partnerships. And also coming to your questions in regards to what are the mistakes and what are the learnings basically of those partnerships. So we did also another study, which we do regularly. So not only for AI, but for all kinds of partnerships between corporates and startups. And the first question we always ask, do you think that the partnerships you engage with, are they successful or not? And over years, most of the companies, they say either they don't know or it's not successful. So almost half of them, they say, no, it's not successful. Yeah? And I think that's getting a bit better here, year over year, but it's still not a good result. So all that effort that is being put into partnerships results into something which, when the partners look at the results, they would judge, no, it didn't work out. Yeah? So there must be something wrong. There must be some mistakes being made. And one of the mistakes companies, when they come together to close a partnership on AI or on any other topic, it's that they don't really understand, first of all, that they enter the partnership with completely different expectations. So here on the corporate side, it's all about accessing new technologies. We want to access new business models and get hands-on lots of data. And on the startup side, on the health tech solution provider side, it's all about, okay, I need some money. I want to increase my sales. I want to get this partnership, but mainly I'm interested in getting some revenues in here. Or I want to have the corporate to support me with my sales by using the distribution channels. So there's a mismatch of expectation, which would be not really a bad thing, yeah, because this is how life is. Everybody has got their own views and expectations, yeah, but it's not really managed. So if you are aware of this, you are meeting up with a partner, and then you're not really asking him and trying to find out honestly what they want to get out of this, yeah, then eventually one party will not meet their expectation. Yeah, and this is also what we see here. It looks like that corporates they get at least partly their expectations met. This is what you see when you look at the satisfaction rate. Whereas the satisfaction rate of startups, they are much lower. So in principle, you can say corporates, they get something out of this, and startups not. On the other hand, you can also see that the expectations from corporates, they're much broader, yeah, and not so concrete as the ones for startups. I think this is all good. Yeah, everybody can have their own expectations, yeah, but what we will see is that the partnerships or the expectations are not really managed well. And what we ask here, also year over year, so what sort of tools, project management tools are you using to manage the different expectations, yeah, to manage the partnerships in general? Yeah, we see that not all of them are using tools like this. Yeah, so I think it's, if you read that more from the other side, yeah, you would say that more than 50% are not using, for example, vision workshops, yeah, to find out what is really the vision of the other party at the beginning of a partnership. Yeah, then you would also find out what is their expectation. So it's not used. Or job rotations, yeah, so sending people to the other team for a week or for a month, or placing the other partners, yeah, into the same office, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So there are lots of tools which are very pragmatic, but they are not used by all of them. And that's one of the reasons why some of the, or most of the partnership fail. Then this is more a trend thing. The partnerships in digital health, they were mainly built around a financial model of, okay, the corporate acquires or invests or owns the startup company. That's done by quite a large share of partnerships. And then the second most popular way of partnering is by co-developing. So you have all those accelerators, incubators being built up to formalize the initial steps of co-development, basically. Yeah? So that's a very, very popular thing. Yeah, and then other financial partnership models like charge for services or pay for tech services. So basically become a client for the corporate. Yeah, these models, they are not so frequently used, but we assume that in the future, when you work together, you will make use of more of those two last financial partnerships models, because maturity of health tech solution providers will increase over time. There has already significantly increased over the last few years. So they are able to offer a value proposition to corporates where corporates can just say, okay, I want to order this and I pay for, let's say, 5,000 licenses. Yeah, and we are not engaging in any co-development projects which last 2 years or even longer to build something which at the end might not work. So that's also a learning that in the future we will have more, I would say, more professional ways of partnerships which are founded on a client and customer basis. If you want to find out more, then there are also some some reports, which you can find on our website.
Thank you for that, Ralph. I want to say actually that was very, very interesting. I know people in the audience as well. You can check out Ralph's website and for those resources. I'm also going to be releasing a clip of his entire presentation on LinkedIn as well, if you want to share that out. And I'm gonna let you go for a moment, Ralph. Do you mind if I just send you off into limbo? I'm gonna bring you back. I know we had a lot of comments from the audience. Now, if I could bring on, is Linda here? Let's see. Spotlight. There you are. And let's see, spotlight for everyone. There, now we can all see you. Hello, Linda.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. Good afternoon, good morning, and good night.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, so Linda, I wonder if you can introduce yourself.
Sure. So I have a pretty quite huge variety in my background, but I'm a medical engineer and I'm also a physical therapist. And I think the most important is that my passion is to help people to get more self-aware through exercising, and that's I'm doing that by the help of mixed and virtual reality and also sensors for real-time feedback.
Thank you. I have questions for you. Okay. So we just had Ralph talk about collaborations. When you're working as a clinician with a technology company, what kinds of structures, what kinds of processes, what kinds of methodologies, what kinds of tools you find work really well in managing a collaboration between clinicians and health tech companies?
Yeah, I'm glad Ralph covered all the corporate level issues, because there definitely are there, all of them. But I will definitely talk more about this interpersonal level, because I believe it always comes back to a person, and probably behind all these management tools, there's also a lot of psychology. But from my experience, I would say I was organizing several events this year where there were all the stakeholders involved in digital that want to digitalize rehabilitation. So it means there were NHS, ministries, clinics, also developers and the clinicians. And this experience showed me that you need to take care of each of them like you would take care of your significant other or your friend. And I truly believe that. I believe you need to get to know them, you need to ask and to listen. And once you understand their values and pains, you can actually discover this common ground, hopefully. And even if you don't, if there is no common ground, it's better to know that sooner rather than later. And with this kind of approach, I have become pretty annoying to engineers and developers, because I ask them what is their mission and vision, and they're not happy about it. So, but I think people, I'm generalizing here, but people tend to see what is wrong. And then when somebody asks what's important for you, they seem to have forgotten these things. So yeah, that's for the common ground. And the other aspect, which I'm also addressing, is this fear of change. And I believe everybody fears it, even the brave and crazy innovators. They are also afraid, and our patients and all the involved people in the process are afraid of something. And usually these factors are some more or some less, but those are like fear of the unknown or loss of control, and also a lack of awareness. There are also some social and cultural factors and practical factors. And there's also definitely fear of AI. That's what I see, and also statistics show that still the major part of community is very skeptical about AI. And even healthcare people, they do understand the value of it. I think we miss this part of explaining how it's going to be good for them, and also not explaining them, not reducing these fears, like what will happen, what will be the unknown with the AI. So once these things are covered, and there is the common ground, then you can actually start working pretty smoothly. And then for this next stage, what I have also seen, it's especially in our region, I don't know how it is in others, but is creating this safe environment to express and give feedback throughout the collaboration process, because there are different mentalities, different working ethics, and different history behind each and every person. And many times people perceive feedback as a critique, and they just can't collaborate anymore. So these kind of philosophical, I would say, psychological things, in my opinion, play the crucial role. And also, of course, in terms of expectations, if we get these all of the mentioned things right, we can get to a contract that guides the collaboration, and everything should be fine. And another aspect, I think, in the long run, to sustain it, are getting people from outside. And there are like two things that I have experienced. It's when you organize some kind of workshops or like co-creation, co-development, but there are people from outside, whether it's a moderator, or just that kind of takes off the, I don't know, pressure in a way, but also a mentor that works with you in the long run. And there are also many studies actually showing that the businesses who have mentors that mentor either CEO, CTO, or whoever, they are way more successful in their businesses. So in this collaboration process, I think it's important to have a mentor that has a fresh eye on things. They ask inconvenient questions, and also they support with the downs in the process.
You know, a light bulb went off when you talked about being aligned on values. I had a conversation with one of my previous speakers, Dr. Arash, I think about 2 weeks ago, and he said, Jose, it actually comes down to, are you aligned on values? And he said to me, when I'm talking to a health tech solution provider, I put them in two buckets. Are they a healthcare organization that is using technology, or are they a technology company that is selling to health tech as a customer? And if it's a second, there's there's problems in forming the relationships. There's additional friction, probably because and for lots of reasons, like just as you described. Thank you very much for that. And I've heard 3 people say that in the past 2 weeks. So but in private chats, not in webinars. I wonder how can I ask you another question or two? Like, see, what key capabilities or functionalities should AI solution providers prioritize to better align with the needs and workflows of underserved population groups? Because I think this is a topic that comes up, and it's come up in my last 2 webinars, is that a lot of the health AI providers, they're leaving people behind. There's underserved populations that aren't, for whatever reason, they're not in the training data, or they're not as seen as profitable, or they just weren't considered. What kinds of things can AI come? Do you have any suggestions?
Well, there are so many things in this aspect, but I will again. I'm very happy that finally people are starting to talk about this more and more, because all this, I mean, what I'm talking about is this communication and user-centeredness, and I think it's the greatest skill and the greatest asset if the provider is able to do that. If they learn how to ask questions and to actually, well, I will repeat myself, but I believe it's true, to listen and be kind of flexible, because when I started my journey with mixed reality in rehabilitation, it was with lower extremity amputees, and I was making the solution with the real-time feedback from muscle activity sensors. And the feedback was shown in the mixed reality headset. In the beginning, it was HoloLens 1. And I think at the time, it was a huge struggle. The skepticism around the technology in general was enormous. And basically what I did, I never mentioned the solution at all, because I just talked to them and asked what are their struggles and what they need, both the patients and the clinicians. So, and it still works the same at the moment. You can't go and ask people, what do you want? Because most of the times they really don't know what they want. I mean, they maybe know what they want, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what they need. So eventually, this solution, what came out of this was very minimalistic. It had just exercise instructions and a circle changing its size, independence of the data coming in, whether they are contracting their muscle or not. And we were also monitoring heart and using neural networks to assess the risk of some cardiac events, since that population has very high risks. So, of course, my ambition was to make something super fancy and offer them all the possible technical solutions, but that's what they really didn't need. And this ability to accept that they need something simple, but still enjoyable and motivating is very important. And in this case, they, even though the setup of all this thing took about 30 minutes, they never complained about it, because they were eventually surprised about themselves and how much more they can do, just because they see, okay, the data went this far, maybe I can do that far. And they also felt safe. And there's also, of course, the other way around. If you haven't thought about the user in the beginning, it can also work in the other way around. You have this huge amount of technical and AI possibilities, but then you choose your target group. You choose whether they live in some rural area or they are maybe sedentary and obese, and you choose only those things that they need. Yes. And what else? I was also thinking about this, that they it's very crucial to always remember about the alignment with different guidelines, and it's probably different in physical therapy and in physiotherapy, because and that's also another kind of thing that AI providers need to always consider. This super high individualization is very, very needed, because people are very subjective. I've had these studies where we were conducting the study where they said, for example, oh my God, I feel so tired. I did such a huge effort, but the data actually shows that they didn't have any effect. According to the guidelines and so on. And it can be also vice versa.
Do you mind if I stop you there? I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm running out of time for the last two speakers. We got a really positive comment. LL, that's you, I guess. You are speaking the truth. I think that's when you were talking about values. And thank you so much, Linda. I'm going to put you into limbo. I'm going to bring on our next speaker, Edward. Add spotlight. Thank you so much, Linda. And now we hear from the engineer. Hello, Edward.
Hello, everyone.
I almost feel like sometimes when we ask the questions, the engineer's the bad guy. But it's like, they're not the bad guy. I work for an engineering company. Edward, I wonder, I know you've spoken in about 3 or 4 of our webinars, so I think about half the audience has already met you. But we have a lot of new people here. I wonder if you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, hello, everyone. Nice to be here. My name is Edward. I'm a delivery partner at the company Radency. I have like more than 10 years of technical experience and technical background, so I'll have something to share with you. And with last several years, I've been working in healthcare domain, healthcare including AI. So I'm happy to share some insight or thoughts.
Thanks, Edward. And first person I want to ask you, and because I talk to a lot of the people in the webinars, in the audience, and you're actually seeing more and more healthcare organizations starting a health AI project without any onboard engineers, and they'll just go. Traditionally, they'll have a few. They might have a CTO. A lot of them, they'll just hire an outsourcing partner without having any engineers. That's what I'm seeing now. What advice would you give to a healthcare organization, and a lot of them would be startups, that are looking to partner with an engineering for the very first time for their project? They may not even have that much experience with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There are three different components, whether you're looking for engineering partner in healthcare domain, and then AI expertise. When you're looking for engineer partner, regardless of the domain, the main criteria are the technical stuff, like technical proficiency, technology stack, proven track record, company culture. Sigrid and Linda already mentioned about sharing the same mission, the same values. When you are looking for and price, of course, and price is very important. When you're looking for specific domains such as healthcare, in addition to what been said, you should consider healthcare expertise such as regulatory knowledge and domain understanding. When you're looking for AI implementation, it's important to have relevant expertise in AI. So assuming all these parts, it's necessary to find the company who is with healthcare expertise. It's familiarity with HIPAA, GDPR, or other relevant regulations. It's experience in handling medical data and solving healthcare specific problems. It's also technical proficiency, like expertise in relevant AI technologies such as natural language processing for clinical notes, predictive analysis, for example, computer vision for medical imaging, etc. It's strong background in data engineering for handling large unstructured data sets. It's also proven experience with AI or machine learning deployment, whether it's cloud or on premises. It's also ability to build and integrate AI solutions with existing electronic health records, such as Epic or Cerner or custom one. It's experience in scalable architecture to handle growth in users and data. Also, it's necessary to have a proven track record, like at least to show some case studies or references from similar healthcare projects. The previous speakers talked about this fear about involving AI into healthcare domain. So it also could be useful to provide some examples of the project where AI give successful or probably unsuccessful results, but better is to have successful results. So, and according to this, the question should be defined all these parts. We can hear you,
Sorry
Jose.
about that. Just if you can add one thing to your answer, things to look for. What things are? Can you give? And I know I hate saying I hate bad mouthing people. Red flags, things that people should look out for when they're talking to engineers, when they're talking to technical partners, when they're talking to engineering partners, that should flag them up. Because I know what they are, you know what they are, but a lot of these startup founders don't.
Right. Well, since finding the proper company to collaborate with and to build your product, to build your own idea, it's, from my perspective, it's important to take into account into lack of healthcare specific experience. It's true sometimes you can delegate some kind of task or work to tech team, and it is not necessary always to have healthcare expertise, but it's kind of important. It's also unwillingness to provide references on key studies already mentioned about this. It's if it's important compliance regulations, so it's poor understanding of the regulations, it could be crucial for your project. It's also resistance to transparency or collaboration. Yeah, mute again.
Oh, I made an executive decision. I'm sorry, guys. We're going to go 5 minutes over time because I can't cut off. I want to ask Edward 2 more questions. I don't want to cut off Ekanjali. I hope that's okay with everybody. What advice do you have to ensure effective communication and collaboration? You know, you don't want to be like chain emails. What kind of communication should people be using?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of collaboration techniques?
First of all, try to use common language between tech team and healthcare professionals. If it's possible, minimize technical healthcare terms, or opposite, assign individuals with dual expertise to bridge the gap between healthcare and technical teams. I think guys already mentioned this, but understand each other's context. Engineers should take time to understand healthcare workflows, priorities, and pain points. And healthcare professionals should be informed about some technical limitations and trade-offs to manage expectations. Sometimes training and education for both groups could help with this problem. Also, provide regular meetings to discuss progress, clarify misunderstandings, and address concerns. This is also very important for communication. As an option, you could visualize and demonstrate a concept using wireframes or prototypes to explain technical design to non-technical stakeholders. And the last one, document everything by clearly defining technical and clinical requirements, summarize decisions, tasks, and next steps after every meeting to ensure clarity and accountability for both of these groups.
Thank you, Edward. And if anyone wants to hear more from Edward, I've got a presentation from him from a previous webinar. I'm going to be putting it up on my LinkedIn channel tomorrow. And it's Edward giving a presentation on marrying software engineering and compliance in healthcare. It's going to be on my LinkedIn channel tomorrow. I'm going to post that. Thank you so much, Edward, for sharing your expertise with us. I know, and I'm sorry you get, I hope you didn't feel beat up there, because I think sometimes people say, in healthcare, people say bad things about engineers. And I kind of feel like you're kind of ganged up on and surrounded, but thank you so much for that. I really appreciate.
Thank you.
And now we're going to, last but not least, Evangeline. Hello, I'm Jose.
Hello.
Thank you so much. And so you were the opening speaker at the challenge in adopting clinical AI into clinical workflow. And now you're the closing speaker. I'm wondering do you have any comments on anything that the previous speakers have said?
Absolutely, and thank you to the earlier speakers.
Oh, sorry, you can introduce yourself as well. Sorry.
I will start by introducing myself. My name's Evangeline. I'm a physician by background, still practicing here in the UK. I transitioned into the health tech community, so I have a little bit of understanding around partnerships. I work for HCA in a large digital transformation project. And yeah, we're very excited to speak at this event. With regards to the previous speakers, a couple of things stood out within this area. And I think I'd start by something that Sigrid mentioned, which is the continuous feedback loop. I would emphasize how important that is when building partnerships, which are sort of long-term, not these short-term arrangements. And then coming on to something that Ralph mentioned, which stood out to me, was the mismatch. And I've seen this time and time again between startups and corporations. So the partnership isn't working, not because there's an inherent issue per se, but it's that we haven't understood what the other party's needs are. And we haven't really built that relationship to understand and feedback around that. I think some of the earlier comments around there being perhaps insecurities within the clinical community, I think that culturally is changing, and certainly there's huge opportunities for startups and developers to actually reach out to clinicians to really understand where that technology fits in the clinical workflow. So you might have a good grasp of what it's doing, but where does that fit in the patient journey? How might that differ from country to country? And even within the UK, that process might look very different in an NHS organization versus a private organization. Well, the process might not be different, but certainly the strategic requirements of the organization might be different. And that might change how you position yourself or some of the language that you use when you're building these partnerships. So those would be some of my comments, but I'll be watching the recording back and making more notes.
You know, I want to say something too, actually. And this is also, as I talk to other sales guys on social media, a lot of startups have difficulty with their sales when they're starting out, and they will partner with another startup or another organization thinking that that partnership will solve their sales problem. Mm-hmm. And it almost never does. And and I see, you can see that in Ralph's presentation. And I was just nodding along. Yep. I have questions for you as well. I don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, if I may add on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think they're onto something which is right. You're building your network and your community, and that sort of may help you in a problem that is not your immediate problem now. And so there's still value in building those relationships across this community in AI as it becomes bigger. But expecting your problem to match the exact needs or the exact sort of scope of another startup's problem might not be exactly transferable. There might be things you pick up and themes you pick up. So say with the NHS, with procurement challenges, you may pick up common threads and themes that will allow you to have good foresight of what those issues are. So I wouldn't say that that's useless. It's just relationships, partnerships, they're complex, and that's why they're fun, honestly. So you have to take the time to invest in them.
Thank you for that. Now, I released a video clip about this and about the importance of having a multidisciplinary team that's able to build relationships with clinicians, healthcare organizations, and regulators. How that is a key determinant of long-term success. Now, can you cover off the relationship building part between the health tech solution providers, especially when they're using AI, and clinicians? And specifically, what advice would you give to those technical founders?
Yeah, so I think there's two elements to this. The first part is the value extraction. So extracting the value that you are providing to that organization. And it might look different in different organizations, even though your solution is the same. You know, just slightly different, but it can completely change how your solution is presented. The second element is co-development. So you might have a specific sort of solution, but understanding that particularly larger organizations require a co-development process. So they're not going to respond to your initial outreach email, yes, we're very happy to implement your new startup solution. They might, but they might not. So the first thing you want to do is establish that relationship, inquire or sort of go on a presentation, a longer term relationship building agenda where you're showing what you have, and then you're doing some of the outreach around what their specific thoughts, needs, organizational challenges are. And sometimes they might not tell you that straight away. Some of that you'll need to do through your own research. And it sounds like there's great tools out there, some of which we've heard about earlier today around your due diligence and market research. But just having that appreciation of the long-term game, especially with larger organizations.
Thank you for that. Now, a lot of health AI founders that I'm talking to now, they actually come from clinical backgrounds. A lot of them. And I think it's because a lot of them have they have a niche or a niche, they've identified a niche or a user flow, and they're capitalizing on that, and they're becoming a lot more tech savvy now. Now they may understand the workflows and their niche case, but one thing I've noticed is that just because they're a doctor or a clinician doesn't necessarily mean they know how to market themselves to healthcare organizations.
Mm-hmm.
So what advice would you have? So this is almost the other direction, the clinician who's marketing a health AI startup to a healthcare organization, and maybe finding out that your own personal context isn't enough.
Yeah, I mean, I understand this even from my own perspective, which is you can understand, you know what the challenge is, you can speak the language of what the use case for a particular solution is, and that does put you at an advantage. That is something that you should leverage. But sometimes the person you're trying to get that procurement contract from doesn't necessarily see the same challenge in the same way. They've not stood in the front lines with you and know exactly why this solution might be needed, and that's not intuitive knowledge to them. So it's actually, again, coming back to understanding that organization's priorities and speaking that language. So perhaps what they need to hear from you about is what the measurable ROI, return on investment, for them will be, or some forecasting that you can do around that. And if that's not, your cup of tea, that's absolutely fine. There are excellent startups partnering with co-founders who can speak some of that business language and do have that skill. And it's okay if we don't have all the skills in that realm, but that is almost a slightly different skill set, which can be acquired, but it's knowing how to speak that language. Yeah, so that'd probably be my biggest tip.
So if I ask you one more question, I'm sorry, everybody. We're going to go just 3 minutes more. So I want to ask Kindly one more question. The looking into the future question. You got to end a webinar with a future question.
Yeah.
Looking ahead. Now, I know you talk to a lot of startup founders in London, so you've got the finger on the pulse a bit more than maybe I do. But where do you see? Do you want to take out your crystal ball, and where do you see a health AI going in the future, in the near future, and from the startups you've been talking to, what's exciting you?
Yeah, I'm going to start off by saying, firstly, it is exciting, and many clinicians like me, even within healthcare and practicing on the front lines, are very excited about what AI has to offer and welcome it with open arms, especially around challenges that require scalable solutions. And now the prospect of having AI solutions actually be able to reduce some of the bureaucracy that holds clinicians back is welcome in many spheres. So, I mean, the way I would look at it is AI is there for augmentation. It's augmenting my experience or my ability to offer care to a patient. I don't believe that it can replace, because my personal beliefs are that care is dependent on intrinsically human factors, things that AI can mimic but not replace. Empathy, intuition, interpersonal relationships. These are what make us fundamentally human. And care, or at the times when you or your family member is most vulnerable, that cannot be replaced by a machine. And I will caveat that with a yet, because I know some people will fight me on that, but that's my personal belief anyway. AI, I think, is a great tool in terms of the steadfast commitment it provides to really enhance the care that we can provide to patients. And that's why it's personally exciting to me.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you to you and all the speakers.
All right, everybody. I'm going to wrap it up there. Sorry we didn't have a Q&A. And I want to thank everyone for coming. Casually, thank you for coming. Thank you for all the speakers. Keep an eye out on my LinkedIn channel. I'm going to be posting a replay. I'm also going to be chopping up this webinar into little tiny pieces and distributing it on my LinkedIn. So if you can, if there was something you wanted to see again, you can do that. Thanks again. And by the way, if anyone is building in health AI and they want a second opinion, or they want to know, is this possible? Is this doable? There's you can book a meeting with me. There's a booking meeting link underneath my LinkedIn profile. Get in touch. I'm happy to chat. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. And end.